Well, heavy rainfall has battered parts of the national capital region, particularly Gurugram. What we can do now is actually give you these images of the Millennium City under siege. These are images from Sona Road, the Colony area, Golf Course Road, and also the Delhi-Gurugram Expressway, and also Cyber City in parts. And as you can see, it's absolutely absurd. In India's Millennium City, apparently modelled on Singapore, there is no ability to drain out water. It's a situation which happens frequently, perhaps never worse than what we saw at stages today. But 600 times above normal levels as far as rainfall is concerned. Why is that happening? So Gurgaon, an island of extreme rainfall today, with over 39 millimeters of rainfall. It was about 7.5 times above normal. But in sharp contrast, 8 next door districts had far less rainfall. They had only about 2 to 3 times above normal rainfall. Gurgaon 664% above normal. Southwest Delhi 62%. South Delhi was at 82%. In fact, minus 82%. They didn't have very much. Faridabad 43%. Palwal 170%. Mewat, Alwar, Rewari and Jhajjar. These are areas which have seen a great deal of above normal rainfall.
These are pictures from Sohna Road in Gurugram. A group of men seen moving on a motorized raft on a submerged road, signifying a complete collapse of public infrastructure after the heavy rainfall.
Looking at these pictures, if you are thinking that I'm standing in some river or a pond, then you are absolutely wrong. This is one of the main road of Cyber City, Gurgaon. We call it Cyber City because of a lot of IT offices, and it's called Millennium City as well. But look at the condition of roads.
Vehicles were seen crawling on roads.
कौन घंटा हो गया? यहाँ पर वो पीछे 1.5 घंटा 1.5 घंटा लगभग 2.5 घंटे से यही फंसे हैं। यू टर्न नहीं ले पा रहे हैं।
I have just 1 hour and I am still stuck in the
What time is the flight?
It's 1:20.
1:20 and you're still stuck here.
The Gurugram police tweeted saying they are on the spot to facilitate traffic flow. Scores of top companies, global and Indian giants, have their offices here. However, even though it is one of India's newest cities, Gurugram is not equipped to handle extreme rainfall. According to the Met Department, the city received over 39 mm rainfall, which is over 7 times the daily normal. Extreme weather events like intense rainfall in a short span or unusually strong cyclones or 50-degree heat waves are all being seen in the context of climate change, where global warming affects weather patterns and causes much damage. India is particularly vulnerable because of its location and significant population at risk. According to the Met Department, Delhi and surrounding areas are likely to get more rainfall till the 23rd of August. With Saurabh Shukla in Gurugram, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
So the heavy rainfall that we've seen, is it linked to climate change? There have been several bizarre weather episodes across India. But let's just take a look at a couple of important points based on a government report. Now, the report speaks about how a rise in temperatures will result in higher variations in precipitation. The warming of the Indian Ocean has caused a decline in rainfall over central and northern India. The warming of the Indian Ocean has also caused extreme rainfalls elsewhere over the Western Ghats. Climate-related hazards may overlap. Droughts can be followed by floods the next year. This is a report, a new one by the Ministry of Earth Sciences. And just take a look at the extreme weather events this year. Cyclone Nisarga, Cyclone Amphan, the Mumbai floods, the floods in Assam still ongoing, the Kerala floods, the Karnataka floods and the Bihar floods which continue. Now, these floods in some areas do continue, but I think the question that needs to be asked is about variations in patterns and the intensity fluctuating. And therefore, joining us now, Dr. Sunita Narain, Director for the Center for Science and Environment, and Bello, founder of Lights On. Both of them track this very, very closely. Dr. Narain, basic question, are these extreme weather patterns directly linked to climate change?
Vishnu, the evidence is very clear now that what you are going to see more and more, and you're seeing it now ratchet up every year, we will see more extreme rain and weather events. You will see intensification of cyclones. So it's important as journalists, as media, not to say that every cyclone is because of climate change, but the intensification, which means the numbers of cyclones going up, the behavior of cyclones, their intensity increasing is because of climate change. The same thing with rainfall. In the last 2 years, we have noted, and we are all living this life and seeing reality, we are seeing that actually rain, when it comes with extreme force. And that's why today, Gurugram, you are saying it's 600% more than the normal. Now, the point that we have to remember, and I think it's not just about climate change, we have to remember that we have a double whammy. So Gurugram cannot say today that, oh, what can we do about this? Because if it's climate change, how can we prepare? If Mumbai has floods, then I hear politicians in Mumbai and Maharashtra say, oh, what can we do about this? This is climate change. Bihar has floods, I hear this. This is not just climate change. It is our mismanagement of our land and water resources, which is exacerbating the impacts of climate change. And I think that has to be constantly put in focus to say that we cannot make these mistakes anymore. Because with climate change, it is going to be an unforgiving nature. We do not have a chance to make our roads in a way that we do not have drainage. Our cities, so that we do not have drainage, lakes, ponds, green areas, all destroyed. And therefore, urban floods are a reality in the years going on with climate change and our mismanagement.
Lou, from what you have observed and seen, how many of the climate change events that you've been studying or looking at directly impact India?
So India is one of the most vulnerable areas of the world, and it really is an example of how climate change does never follow a linear path. So initially, like even 10 years ago, when we started hearing about climate change, it was all about rising temperatures and drought. Whereas now in India, we're seeing that the real danger comes not just from rising temperature, but also from rising temperature combined with humidity, which throws our rains off kilter entirely. So it's difficult to estimate how every single event is made worse by climate change. Science now has a particular branch called attribution experiments, so they're able to do that. But in general, even with small single events and the rains that we're seeing this year, scientists are more and more confident that climate change is playing a part. And then they can go into detail to study the single phenomenon, whether it's a cyclone or a drought. But I think the problem is more how you respond to what is happening, because the science is very clear. There's no debate anymore that climate change is making the weather more erratic, and it will increasingly do so.
Sunita, how is it increasingly possible, and it's already happening, that there would be sharp alternates or opposites in weather patterns? This is what the government has identified. Others have spoken about it. A year of heavy floods can be followed by an intense drought the very next year. So the variations would be absolutely extreme in the same area. Is that not something we should expect a lot more of?
Absolutely, Vishnu. But we're talking about sub-regional variation. You're literally talking about one part of a district being in flood and another part of the district being in drought. You're talking about one part having extreme heat wave. So you are talking about sub-regional variations. You're talking about the fact, and I think what we need to remember, Vishnu, in all this is that, India is a very vulnerable country. I accept that. We are also got this double whammy, which I talk about, our own mismanagement, exacerbation. But I think the ultimate immorality of this is there is the poor who are not the contributors to climate change, who are today the victims of climate change. And even countries like India, who are not in any way responsible for the stock of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, who are today facing the brunt of climate change. But the fact is, it's not linear. It's going to increase. If the poor are affected yesterday, the rich will be affected tomorrow. And I think that's why we need to understand how dangerous climate change is. I mean, we are seeing the coronavirus in our life, the disruption because of the coronavirus. Who would have thought that the world would have collapsed like a card, like a pack of cards? The fact is, with climate change, you're going to see even greater disruption, even greater catastrophes. You're seeing it now. Look at Gurugram, look at Bangalore last year, look at the floods in Kerala, Bihar, look at the droughts that follow because we don't hold the water, we don't harvest it. So I think it's critical, Vishnu, and I'm very glad you're raising this on prime time. It's important for us to remember that climate change is here. It's a reality. We are seeing the impacts today, and they will only get worse in the years to come. So it's time we got our act together.
Lou, would you like to add to what Sunita was mentioning about sub-regional variations? Now, this is the basic question, and I ask this because I think a lot of people in Delhi would be wanting to know. Why did it rain so much in Gurugram, and why did it rain less in Delhi? Why is it that we saw so much flooding in Gurugram and we didn't see as much in Delhi? When we're talking about sub-regional variations, could we see variations of this extent common in the future?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We can see this is the problem. I mean, a scientist would be able to answer you in greater detail, but the problem with how climate change manifests itself in India and other places is that it becomes more and more erratic, and this being erratic also will bring about small variations, sub-regional variations. And the area of Delhi and all the north of India is a particularly sensitive one because you have the Himalayas just behind you. And that means that all currents will stop by the Himalaya. And so whatever effect is taking place is going to become more severe, or it's going to have impacts that we can't quite measure at the moment, but we know they're going to be there. And I think one really important aspect that we're seeing now is that all of these variations and all of these phenomena that are hitting in these years, but will increasingly do so, act as a threat multiplier. That's right. What they say in the field. So we've seen this year with the coronavirus situation, when Cyclone Saga hit the west coast, Mumbai was in full lockdown. So what do you do in this case? You have to keep people indoors, but at the same time you have an extreme weather event that could knock their homes down.
Precisely.
So what do you do?
Yeah, and it was a huge, I mean, how do you deal with COVID and an extreme weather event at the same time? It was, I mean, that was just such a clear example of how problematic this could be at so many levels. I'd like to thank both of you very much for joining us. It was great to have you on the show, Lou. As Sunita knows, we keep discussing the environment all the time, and we will, of course, on NDTV keep doing that over and over again. Well, we have this report on the residents of the Millennium City, Gurugram, today facing everything from waterlogged roads to power cuts because of the heavy rain.
The constant rain has caused a lot of problem for the people of Millennium City, Gurugram. We are currently at a premium apartment in DLF Cyber City. There's been no electricity ever since it started raining here in the morning. The residents here don't know when the power will be back. Apart from that, there has been a lot of issues for residents over here. I have some residents here with me. I have Mr. Laju Augustine here with me. I have Mr. Anand Panikar with me, and we'll speak to them both about the issues they face. So first to you, in terms of the larger picture, is this a recurring issue? What do you think are the causes, and also at a personal level, what are the kind of damages that residents face?
This is a recurring perennial issue. I mean, each and every year we guard ourselves, we worry if this is in any way in our control. We have done everything possible within the condominium to take care of our issues, clearing our drainages every single year. But each and every time we realize that most of the issues that happen today are beyond our control. We've got water gushing into our condominium, and whatever we try, fixing our drainages, putting sandbags, everything, we realize that every single year we are up to our neck.
Right, and what is the damage that has been caused to your bikes?
Well, if you ask me, at 9:30 we thought everything was under control, and then see, gush of water just came by. I mean, we've got two of these lovely beauties, went almost drenched till here underwater. I don't even know if I can start them on at this point in time.
Are the authorities, the local authorities, are they really helpful, or does it fall on deaf ears?
The authorities are certainly not responsible at all. I mean, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. You can see for yourself the kind of damage which has happened. The residents eventually were on their own.
So this is what Gurgaon residents have faced over the years. They say that they try to approach the local authorities, but it all falls on deaf ears. People, from lack of basic facilities like electricity to personal damages to the larger picture that even the drainage system in Gurgaon is faulty. All of these are big issues that need to be resolved. In Gurgaon, with camera person Mohammad Mursalin, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.